We know very well in this management of COVID-19 and its complications, oxygen plays a paramount importance in the recovery of the patient. So, oxygen we should not take it lightly that when we in our general practice the use of oxygen, and here the use of oxygen is of paramount importance. The oxygen is one of the main yardstick of therapy along with the other medications and supportive therapy. I will tell for this, the oxygen is a precious drug which also has toxic properties, and oxygen is life saving. So, so it has to be used very judiciously. Utmost care has to be taken for oxygen delivery system with particular focus on all safety measures. If you are not judicious enough to take care of this oxygen delivery system, the amount of oxygen being released from the system may not go to the fullest extent for the benefit of the patient. We have recently seen that there is an increased incidence of mucormycosis is being reported from the patients who are under prolonged oxygen therapy. So, summarizing, there is one, oxygen is precious, it is life saving, it is a main yardstick of therapy. But side by side, we should know the complications of because this is the increased incidence of mucormycosis and the proper management of the machines and other machineries for delivery of the oxygen from the source to the patient, which is under a control mode. Before having a look at the oxygen requirement, and we should not be very complacent and very casual about the oxygen requirement and administering some oxygen to somebody. And in general practice, we know in hospitals when the patient is dying, they just put a mask on it. We should see the requirement of the oxygen and what is the requirement in this scenario. If you go on this slide, we know 80% of the infected patients are with mild disease which can be managed with home isolation and there is no oxygen required. 17% of the patients, they have moderate symptoms with compromised oxygen saturation level and they need a oxygen beds, and only 3% with severe disease, they require oxygen through invasive or non-invasive ventilation by NIV, HFNC, NRBM and invasive ventilator. So, we must have an idea on the total aroma of the patients, how much we will be requiring oxygen and how much we will be requiring only oxygen support and how much require serious invasive and non-invasive ventilation through different machines. Key points we have worked out in different models and different guidelines of WHO, Government of India and different experts that the norm, approximate norm is for 100 patients if they are in ICU and SDU, 616 D-type cylinders per day are required, which includes the actual requirement plus standby for any exigencies. And for 100 patients, if you have 100% in general bed, 92 D-type cylinders per day, this also includes the requirement plus standby for any exigency. And for 100% in CCC, 90 B-type cylinders per day are required, which again includes the exigency requirement. And this norm is based on the patients. If we have 100 beds in CCC, and there are 20 patients in CCC, we should calculate our oxygen requirement on the available patients with some buffer stock. We should not be very anxious enough to fill up all the 100 beds of CCC with oxygen cylinder when we have only 10 patients under treatment there. This norm is based on patients. Positioning of this cylinder should be done based on the number of patients in the facility by rational relocation amongst various facilities. This will help to avoid unnecessary placement of cylinders where not needed. what I told, you do not have to stack extra amount of cylinders in your facility when your facility does not require that, whereas in some facility they may be requiring more and they are being deprived of it. So a judicious inventory control and monitoring of your requirement and your availability, it should be done by all the concerned. And care may be taken to ensure empty cylinders are filled daily by coordinating with the drug inspector. There is a clear-cut instruction from our government to see that there should be no empty cylinders left over in our facility. We have made a system. The drug inspector will coordinate with the nodal officer of the facility to see that they will collect the empty cylinders and refill it. And these empty cylinders, if the number is huge, 2 to 3 transportation may be done, or it may be taken care of by one transportation, and the cost for everything will be taken care of by the PHRF fund as indicated by our guidelines. There are three things. For oxygen, there is a patient, he has a requirement, and there is a health team which looks after the patient, and number three, the group which sees that everything is in place, starting from machinery, gadgets to a field oxygen source. So the health team have got a very important role. They have to be judicious to see which patient requires oxygen, which patient does not require oxygen, which patient requires invasive ventilation, which patient requires non-invasive ventilation, or which patient requires oxygen support only. This flow of oxygen in these cases should be adjusted to the lowest possible level to target an oxygen saturation of 90 to 94% as per the guideline of MOHFW. And even now the experts have told if the patient is maintaining a 93% of oxygen saturation, it is well enough to maintain his system. We should not be in a panicky mode. An indiscriminate use of BiPAP and high flow nasal cannula should be avoided. This has got a life-saving property. This has got a negative property also. And when required, this BiPAP should be preferred over HFNC, as HFNC consumes large amount of oxygen and BiPAP is a closed system. So there is no leakage. Whatever you adjust, that will be flowed and it will be delivered to the patient concerned. When we prefer this HFNC, there is every possibility of loss of oxygen. What we are giving, we are setting a flow, we are transmitting the oxygen, but on the way, by the time it reaches the patient, a major amount is lost. HFNC should be used only in ICU settings, not in the general beds. Mask is sufficient enough. And everybody knows when there is a oxygen deficit, prone position should be intermittently done along with adjunctive physiotherapy to optimize respiratory status, lung inflation, alveolar functioning. And in addition to this, individualization of oxygen therapy should be done taking into account the clinical signs and not just SpO2. There are two important things. The health team or healthcare providers are the most important person, and they are the competent person to assess the requirement. And the requirement does not depend upon the oximeter's instruction that the saturation is low, but the clinical features of the patient, other symptoms related to other organs should be taken into consideration for oxygen therapy. Once the desired saturation is achieved, this flow of oxygen should not be increased as it won't provide any additional benefit. This is the most important part. If you are achieving a 94% saturation, do not push for 98% by flowing in more oxygen, because that lung tissue is not yet it is normalized to receive more oxygen. If you are achieving a oxygen saturation as per the guideline, stay at that. And up titration instead of down titration should be the norm. Triaging of patients as per their oxygen status should be done at regular intervals. as I told, if you have a setup where there is a ICU, there is a ventilator, ICU, SDU, where there is a ventilator, where there is a general bed. Constant dynamic monitoring of the patient should be done, who requires only mask therapy, who requires only oxygen support, who requires a invasive ventilation, who requires a non-invasive ventilation. It is a constant dynamic monitoring of the healthcare providers who are looking after the patients. And everywhere the audit has got a paramount role in seeing or commenting on the fact that how judiciously are we using one important component like oxygen in the treatment. We should have log on daily basis what was the requirement, how much was given, how much is lost, what is available, what is not available. So the audit of the oxygen therapy by the health team should be done by that team, and feedback should be given to the inventory management people. Here comes the most important part, the responsibility of the state or hospital administrator or nodal officer, whatever, or ICU in charge, whatever you may tell. At ICU and OT, oxygen monitoring team for each shift with one nurse and one OT technician or a pharmacist to detect the machinery part, like if there is any oxygen leakage, whether the gas pipeline is correct and functioning, there is no blockage, and the outlet is proper, and the most important, the source, the cylinder, whether it is filled or it has to be replaced. Ensure closure of valves during no use, sensitize others on conservation of oxygen. This whole, all the things what I have told is to see that what is required is given, what is not required, we are not going to give something excess which is lost, which can be utilized for benefit of another patient. At facility level, we have given instruction there should be oxygen audit committee for every hospital, which should be headed by additional or deputy medical superintendent or the DMO cum MS or HOD anesthesia, pulmonary medicine, internal medicine and nursing superintendent, and all these people should have a team which will audit the requirement of the oxygen, whether it is as per need, whether it is supplied as per need, whether there is a gap or we are surplus. The duty of oxygen audit committee in a facility is to supervise what I told. The most important point is inventory planning. Your machine should be in a proper state. You should have oxygen source, whatever may be. It may be a cylinder, it may be a gas pipeline, it may be MLO, whatever it is may be. Repair and maintenance of gas pipeline and wall mount gas outlets, gas plants, because all these are mechanical gadgets which are subject to wear and turns. It should be daily checked and daily replaced. And as I told, you must sit together and review the consumption pattern twice a week, so that we are able to know the proper planning, proper use of this precious matter oxygen for benefit of the patients. And this audit is mainly aimed to reduce oxygen wastage, rational use, and number 2, a perfect delivery at the time of requirement, which includes your inventory management, which includes your dynamic monitoring of the healthcare providers regarding the status of the patient.